Hey, it's Brooks, the Access Control Expert with AccessControlForum.com. We're here with Joe from EMX Industries. He's going to walk us through one of the best photo eyes on the market, which is the IRB RET for under 60 feet. And he's also going to tell us about the IRB MON, the best photo eye on the market for up to 100 feet.
90 feet.
90 feet, so I was close. And then we're going to go over the detectors and probes that he's got. So let's take a look at the IRB RET. So one of the great things about the IRB RET is the reliability, the durability, and flexibility. So what do you have going on with it as far as the number of gate operators that it can actually be hooked into? Is it just 1 or 2 gate operators?
No, we have 4 different monitoring techniques on board on the RET. It does normally closed, 10K, 2-wire, and 4-wire pulse. So it's really configurable for multiple gate operator manufacturers. One SKU number you need to keep on the truck. You can drive up to almost any operator and get the RET to work.
And what's the range on this one, stated from the factory?
We say 50 feet.
50 feet, okay. I have successfully installed this in my installation company for up to 45 feet. I love those at the 40 to 45 range. I think that's the sweet spot. And then past that, I go with the IRB MON. But there is a cost benefit with going with the IRB RET. So when I go from this up into the IRB MON, what's the installation? Again, what's the gate operators that can go on?
So this one only has 3 different monitoring techniques. It has normally closed, 10K, as well as the 2-wire pulse. So not quite as flexible as the RET, but still covers a vast majority of gate operator manufacturers. The detection range is technically by the manual is up to 115 feet. Most people use it up to about 90 feet. It gets really tricky at really long distance to get everything lined up exactly right. Again, it is transmitter and receiver. Comes with a little sun shield that you can install on the receiver if you're worried in real high sun areas. Also available with a steel hood in either gray or gold. And it's quite popular.
And yeah, it seems like the gold's always the one that I buy, but is this gray new?
It is new this year, yes.
Okay, that's why I always buy the gold. And just to go back to the IRB RET, you had said something about the sun shield. It comes with the sun shield on the.
It's actually on the receiver sensor here, so it's accurate and very, very specific. You can't get any false loss of detection.
And
these two need to be lined up.
Sun shield / weather shield on this.
Correct.
Right here. So I just wanted to see, but this does not come with it. This is an optional device.
Correct.
So that covers the photo eyes. Both of these are UL 325 2016 and 2018.
Correct.
Now with UL 325 2018, we're on a slide gate. We're having to protect the leading edge in the open cycle as well too. So you guys have come out with an answer for that for edge sensors. This edge sensor is just for display, but it'll give you an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, so this is a wireless EdgeLink transmitter. We have a receiver that can handle 4 channels, so it can handle 4 transmitters to a single receiver, and all it's going to do is wirelessly transmit the contact that's made on a wireless edge or on an edge sensor and transmit it over to the receiver. You can see the little LED turn on when I bump the sensor. It works extremely well. The biggest trick is to make sure that the receiver and the transmitter are installed within line of sight of each other. The biggest tech call we get is somebody comes in, installs the receiver on the back side of a gate operator, try to hide it out of the way so nobody sees it, and not only can no one see it, but our transmitters don't see it either, so they lose connectivity.
So for an installation practice, I haven't put one of these in yet, so from installation practice, what I'm hearing from you is exterior installation on the receiver.
That's what we recommend.
And of course this is
always
exterior,
on the gate.
yeah.
This is right on the gate.
So orientation on the transmitter
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Just as long as you can look at this one and see the receiver.
These two need to see each other.
So 4 channels. So you could, in theory, protect the opening and closing edge just using the 1 receiver and 2 transmitters.
And the back side on a sliding gate is where a lot of injuries occur. So we see a lot of people put an edge on that back side as it's sliding along the side of the fence. So a lot of times we'll see 3.
Oh, gotcha. All right, cool. As opposed to with the guide post, the back edge, and the front edge.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm a huge fan of the EMX MVP lube detector. one of the reasons why I like the MVPs is it stands for multiple voltage. So with that, if you guys are doing solar gate operators, you're doing 240, this is the one loop detector that you can carry on your truck, and it'll cover all of those voltages and anything in between, and be reliable. So that's one of the reasons why I like it, is it'll handle the multiple voltages. But you guys have come out with a couple of new things in the loop detector lineup. So can you explain to me the difference of these two and
Sure.
what they do?
So we have 3 total MVP product lines for and like Brooks said, it stands for multi-voltage, for everything from 12 volts DC up to 240 volts AC. The aluminum is our most durable. You can drive a car over it won't be damaged. You can drop it out of the controller box, you won't damage it. We also have these two, the Alt MVP and the Alt MVP 2. One's a single channel, one's a dual channel. Both of them are available with Detect on Stop, which actually will only close the relay when the vehicle is in a stop position. For 2 seconds, you'll see the output will turn on. Really handy for opening an overhead door, for instance, a tow motor driving through a factory. They don't want to have a transmitter and a receiver on the lift truck, so they'll just have a spot on the floor where the machine operators know where to pull up, wait for 2 seconds, it'll trigger the door to go up. It's a popular feature. With the simple dip switch settings, you can take advantage of it. With a dual channel, you can hook it up to 2 independent loops. There's actually 2 detectors in one. And when you configure them, you can configure it for A/B logic, so you can do direction control. So as you move it in one direction, you can trigger one output. When you move it in the other direction, you can trigger the second output.
How come I didn't know that? So if I have a typical there is no typical gate operator installation, but if I had just a regular slide gate operator and I had 2 loops, I had an exit and an outside safety.
Yeah.
What I've been doing is buying 2 MVPs, right? And then just because it's 2 different commands,
Correct.
and connecting those, one to exit and then one to safety. Are you telling
You're
me
using it as a reversing loop?
yes, what I would call a safety,
Safety,
and then
okay.
one as an exit.
Okay.
So that's 2 loop detectors. Are you telling me that I can take those 2 loop detectors, throw those away, and put just 1 loop detector
You
in?
should have a loop detector for every different function that you
Okay.
have in a loop. That would be 2 distinct functions. I would have 2 separate detectors. One feature about the Alt MVP and the Alt MVP 2 that people really like is the ultrameter display. It makes it very, very easy and very, very quick to set up a loop. So you put the loop in, hook up the MVP 2 or the MVP 1, pull the car up, and whatever reading you get when the car is in place, you simply set the dial to that number and you're good to go. Now when a car comes by, it'll detect it. So it makes it really easy and quick for the installer, which is the name of the game from EMX.
So loop detectors are, if you can put a loop in, so if I'm out in a rural area where I've got nothing but dirt and grass, it's not common for you to dig out a trench and actually put the loop in. You can do it, but it's not common. So you have an answer for that too.
Yeah, we have, a lot of people don't like the labor and the cost and the time associated with installing a full loop. It takes 9 cuts in the pavement to make your squared circle to install your loop. Even if it's a preformed, saw cut loop, it's still a lot of work. So we developed a magnetoresistive sensor that's a single cut loop. It's actually, we call it a loopless single cut sensor. So you cut a single cut right into the middle of the detection zone. You can drop in our flat pack sensor. It's designed to fit inside a 3/8 of an inch wide cut. Just simply insert it, hook it up to the detector, tune the loop, and you should be good to go. And tuning the loop, what that means is there's a little black button, just hold it for a moment, and it'll take a reading of the magnetic field around that sensor. It's really the Earth's magnetic field it's measuring, and then it's looking for a change in that magnetic field. So as the car comes by, we get a disturbance in the magnetic field, we detect on it. So it's really a single cut vehicle detector, loopless.
So one of the things is on this display is you have both of these here, but we have 2 different probes. So these are 2 different SKUs. You got 1 and 1. So it's these, both of these don't come with it. So the difference between this one and this one is you're talking
It's just
one
the packaging.
saw cut.
One's for a single cut. Some guys like to do a cut into the middle and then drill a core drill about 7 inches down and then drop the sensor down vertically into the hole and then run the feed down the cut, the wire down the cut. It's totally personal preference. This housing is a little bit more robust because the sensors are exactly the same. They function identical. This packaging is just different. A lot of people like that PVC. It's similar to a vehicle motion detector. They're used to seeing that format, so we gave it to them in a probe. Personally, I like the flat pack sensor because it's easier. I don't need the core drill on site. I can leave it in the van. Just make the cut, 2 inches, drop it in, put your backer rod in, keep everything still. One little tip on this one is we want to make sure you use your backer rod. We don't want this lead moving. We don't want the sensor bouncing around. If it moves, again, we're measuring the change in the magnetic field. And if the sensor moves or the wire moves, it's going to see a change. It's going to think there's a vehicle there. So you want everything locked down.
Need to take the same precaution, if you will, as in the lead-in for a loop wire or anything like that. So if you are meeting the standards that you would in a loop, using backer rod,
Correct.
using sealant, and making sure that it's tight, similar to this, that you don't want any of those vibrations creating false detections.
True, and one more comment. Since it is magnetoresistive, in a induction loop vehicle detector, we're measuring the change in inductance we're picking up in the loop by a metal object going by, such as a car. And magnetoresistive, we're looking at the change in the magnetic field. So it needs to be ferrous, it's really magnetic field. So an aluminum car is going to have trouble being detected. We need to get closer to the engine block. Sometimes there's still steel on the axles. So the call we'll get is, it's an F-150. Why is my detection range so much closer on an F-150 Ford pickup truck? All aluminum body, aluminum frame. And the reason is because you have to get close enough for me to detect the steel on the engine block.
Gotcha.
So it's not that it's not picking it up, it will eventually pick up the steel, but you just got to get closer.
Gotcha. All right, well, that was Joe with EMX, and we covered his whole product line there, so we appreciate you taking time. Thank you
Brooks,
very much.
thank you for coming out. It was fun.
No problem.